Hi Inga, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? So nice to see you.
I'm really fine. For the people who may not already know you, could you give us like a short introduction and maybe a short wrap up of your journey in yoga so far?
Yeah, sure. My name is Inger, and I'm 29 years old, and I'm an Ashtanga yoga practitioner and teacher. I've been practicing yoga since 2015, so that's 11 years, and then I've been practicing Ashtanga since 2017, which is 9 years, pretty much daily since I started. And
Oh,
then,
wow.
yeah, it's been quite a journey. Then I was very fortunate to go to Mysore and learn from Shiraji,
Hmm.
first time in 2018. And then I ended up getting the blessing from him to teach and share this method in 2022. And yeah, that's what I do. I'm a yoga practitioner and teacher, and I'm just feel really honored to share this method with the world and to practice first and foremost. Um, that's a really short summary of my path. Um, that's
Obviously.
yeah.
But that's absolutely fine. I think this gives the people like at least like a good idea. And I think it would be great to dive a bit deeper into that because I think there are a lot of points already in there which are quite interesting. So when you start first with yoga, what was the first like in 2015? You said it was not Ashtanga. How did you get in touch with yoga? And what kind of style was it back then?
Yeah, so for me, actually, 2015, I was 19 years old. So I had a quite difficult time with my mental health as a teenager. I actually had a psychosis when I was 17 years old, which is, a quite sensitive topic that I have a lot of respect for, but that's what happened to me. And from that psychosis, I kind of had the experience where I really was asking the big questions. What is the purpose of everything? What is if it's possible to experience this much pain, and if I can be aware of experiencing that much pain, there must be like a witness that's greater than that. So my initial search was really just to kind of dedicate my life to find out what my soul is made of. So I
Wow.
really wanted to find my soul and to like be in that kind of deeper search. So after high school, I started a 1 year yoga school in Norway. We have something here called a folk high school, which is part of our system where you can go after high school for 1 year and just study whatever subject, whether that's art or sports or whatever the case might be. I
That's so
ended up
cool.
going. Yeah, it's super cool. It's amazing. It's part of the Norwegian system that is really great. So I ended up going to this 1 year yoga school, and it was hatha yoga at that school. So I started with hatha yoga at that school.
So thanks first and foremost for sharing this so honestly. I mean, like, it's like super interesting to see even through people who have now like such a long practice, like 10 years along is already like a lot. And even like in Ashtanga for like at least 7 years is like daily practice, a lot of practice. So it's super interesting to see which points are drawing people into yoga. How was it for you when you first encountered the Ashtanga method? Was it with a specific teacher, or was it also in Norway in your home, or was it just like a random encounter?
Yeah, so for me, I'd already been practicing at that point hatha and vinyasa and jivamukti, just kind of playing around, and I loved yoga. But I found Ashtanga yoga through Kino on Instagram. I thought she was so inspiring,
Yeah,
so I followed her on Instagram,
sure.
and then I was like, "What kind of yoga is this? Like, it looks so cool! Like, just from the images, I thought it looked so cool." It's kind of a funny story, but I downloaded the primary series on Pirate Bay. Like this was back. So I
Okay.
had it on my computer, and I just practiced from that DVD that I had downloaded every single morning until I knew the primary series by heart. And
Oh,
then
wow.
once I knew it, I just put the DVD away and I just kept practicing every day. So that's how I started with Ashtanga.
But that's super honest, at least. I think even nowadays we have to face that even in the modern world, the like online Rome is totally real. For most of us, maybe the first encounter with traditional methods and traditional like ways of spirituality, different ways. It's mostly through the internet and through like, okay, self-experience, right? But it's super cool that you stick with it. I mean, like this is something I see a lot with different kind of methods or different kind of like styles that people first encounter something or find something for themselves, but it's hard for them to build this routine and sticking with it for so quite intense. So for you, the intention was already back then pretty clear. You already felt something transformed to the practice, which kept you going. How was it for you?
Yeah, exactly that. And I would like to add, I've been to Kino's workshop afterwards, so I'm fully supporting your work. I'm like her biggest fan
Sure.
probably. But you know,
I've
I'm
been with her last year in Brazil, actually.
yes, she's
Yeah.
amazing. I love Kino. And it's also kind of funny to me because in traditional yoga spaces, sometimes people are like, don't do social media, don't be on the World Wide Web. But the truth is, like, I'm from a really small place. So the resources you have here,
Mhm.
it is through the internet, right? So that was how I got started with it. And I'm happy to have started that way. But yeah, I just kept going. I kept practicing every single day, Ashtanga at home practice. And then not long after that, I came across a video on Kino's YouTube of her being in Mysore at the old
Mhm.
Shala in Gokulam. And I just immediately had this feeling inside like, what is this place? I have to go there. I just knew immediately that I had to go there. So
Wow.
then
Yeah.
I had to do the research and I found out you have to practice with authorized teacher. So I moved to Oslo to practice with the authorized teacher and then eventually going to my
Wow. That's so much commitment, even so early on in your journey. Wow. To have this calling has to be like something special. I think, how do you identify this for you? Because I think for a lot of people, actually, even on the yoga path, it's hard to listen to this inner voice and to know, okay, this is the right way. Did you always had like a pretty clear, like listening to your inner voice, or was it just something which came to you stronger and stronger through the practice?
I would say yes. And I've always been a bit of a weirdo, to be honest. So I've always just kind of, gone my own way despite for better and worse, to be honest. Yeah, I've really had this. I really think I listen to my intuition and my soul a lot, and that's like my compass through life. Again, for better or worse, but that's kind of the person I am. So
I mean, this is even the experience maybe you should have, right? It's like always this thing. I think even if we listen to our voice or not, we have to face like reality, how it hits us. And sometimes it's more pleasant and sometimes less, but we can't escape really like we can't have just a pleasant life. That won't work. So it's way better to have made the decision you wanted to do instead of like, okay, somebody else took the decision for me. When you first went to Mysore, you said it was 2018. Is that right? Oh, okay. So this is even quite interesting for me because I think so. I hear this a lot from people starting Ashtanga nowadays. It already seems like they're just these super old school authorized teachers, which practice like in the 90s, in the 2000s, maybe like even before that time, which have this holy grail of standard. And then and for us, it's even not even any more recognizable to what have India been looking like back then, right? What kind of effort was it to travel to Mysore back then? And for me, even it's like to think about, oh, 2018. What have I done 2018? Like you said, then you have been like round about like beginning of 20. So how was it for you like to really make this effort to put in like you changed your place where you lived, you practiced with an authorized teacher, and then you really went to Mysore. How was this journey for you when you first encountered that?
Well, I did really sacrifice everything for it, but I think at that point I was just 21, 22. So you do have more of an opportunity to do that when you're so young. But for me, yeah, I really just packed up all my little things and I went to Oslo and then then I went to Mysore. But it was difficult. I think you can tell these stories back and it sounds so adventurous, which it also
Hmm.
was and it gave so much meaning. But to be honest, those two first times when I went to Mysore, I worked double shifts and I worked so much to save up the money. And every time I had to quit the place I was living, I had to quit everything. Then you go to Mysore 1 or 2 months, then you come back and you kind of have nothing. You have to start from scratch. So it was difficult, but it was also profoundly meaningful. And I always knew that it was what I was meant to be doing.
Oh wow. Okay, what do you think the practice gave to you, especially like the Ashtanga practice and especially this place? like practicing in the shala and practicing even in the environment of Mysore. What do you think made this different for you? You know, like, I mean, I'm from Germany, you're from Norway. So we both are like from super privileged in the way that we have like a really, really like high standard of everything is safe, everything is like working out, you have social insurance, you have everything. So you have a lot of opportunities basically right here. And still people make this adventurous move, still make this dedicated move. So there has to be something it gives to them which they can't find in like maybe Western society. Can you get us in your shoes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I absolutely fell in love with India because my first time in India was in 2016 when I was 19 because we had a class trip with that Hatha Yoga school I went to. So we went
Cool.
to Rishikesh and it was just amazing. And I just loved India from the first moment because I'm sure you know as well. Norway and Germany is kind of similar. If you take like that and turn it upside down, like the 360 of it,
This is it. Sure. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
no, I just loved, but what I really, you can say a lot about India and, you know, it's a lot of impressions and all of that. But what I really, at the core of it, what I loved about it is that it's so spiritual. It's such a spiritual place. And I talked about this a lot because I was fortunate. I was in a relationship with an Indian man for 5 years.
Hmm.
And I learned so much also from him. And what always was the most beautiful thing for me about India is that they have been like, people have tried to conquer this country again and again, like the Mughals, the British, like so many different. But somehow India has been able to preserve their own spirituality and unique spiritual culture for thousands of years. And I think this is what I really felt when I was in India, that this spiritual practice is ancient and it's rooted in something that is so real. And I think you can feel that when you go to India and when you go to
Absolutely.
learn yoga. It's amazing.
I think this is sometimes the hard part to, get back and describe to people, even from like the Western states. And I think Germany and Norway are great examples for that. Like, okay, this is like the complete opposite. You go there, you have to face noise, you have to face dirt, you have to face like a lot of people, you have to face closeness, and you have to face this kind of totally different world beliefs from a Western society, right? And I think so when I first went to India, it was already that people said, wow, why do you want to go to India? You know? And even I think sometimes you need to have this it's a kind of adventurous thing. You want to see something different. You want to experience something different. And then just something like this opens up to you. And exactly what you said, I felt the same or most of the people I met felt the same. I actually never met somebody who really went to India and said, oh, I didn't like it. People are always like, oh, you will love it or you will hate it. I never met anyone who hated it. Everyone who went there was like, wow. It's just this culture which really embraces, I think, so much. Yeah, I think a bit more of life in general, like how everything just unfolds. And at the same time, it's more lived spirituality than in Europe for sure nowadays. So this is interesting. Sorry.
It's a beautiful, I mean, the yoga, I always encourage my students, you know, if you go to India at least once in your life and learn yoga in India, because that's really where the source of yoga is, you know, like it's spirituality.
I think you can even see it like, in day-to-day life, how people act with that, even if they are not practicing maybe asana, but you see a lot of like similarities, how the lifestyle like is evolved out of, or how the spirituality is evolved out of the lifestyle and the other way around. So when you first went to Mysore, to Gurukulam, and do you met your teacher, Sharad? How was that for you? Because sometimes you just still I think he's your main teacher, is that right?
Yes.
So I feel a lot of people or yoga teachers have this kind of like, I found my one really inspiring person in my life, which really gave this practice to me or gave this path to me. I think the relationships you have to your teacher is always like super individual and super unique, but it can be super different for people. So how was it for you when you first encountered like, okay, there is this lineage holder, there is this, okay, whole system. How did you encounter that?
I thought it was so beautiful from the first moment. And I was lucky to get my first season in the old Shala and Gokulam. What I really remember was the energy in the room, because there's something about that many dedicated practitioners in the room. And then also Guruji kind of really just being this presence and energy that held it all together. So I remember even like the first day that I was practicing, and you get called in one more, and the room is packed. Like the sweat is like dripping from the ceiling, and yeah, like just such an experience. But then on a real level, the energy of the lineage is so present in the room. And I remember that first day, him just like walking past me, and I could feel this energy that this is really my teacher. And I never really talked that much to Guruji, but energetically, there was really a feeling that this is my teacher, and that there is the transmission of something really real. And I also felt like he always saw me for who I really am, which a lot of people say about Shurok, but that's like such a gift when a person is truly able to do that. That was really, it was just the energy that was unmistakable. It was so clear and strong and real. So that's what I remember from that initial time practicing with him.
You think it was also the same kind of calling or intuition you mentioned earlier, which draw you to yoga in general and to the Ashtanga thing?
Yes, I do.
That's interesting. What does lineage mean for you especially? Because obviously, even nowadays, there's like a lot of like, I think what means confusion, but there are different kind of approaches, there are different kind of teachers, and there are obviously different kind of approaches to Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga as well. So what is for you the most important part, or what is the potent part you take out of this for your practice and for your teaching?
Well, I think I thought a lot about it, and I think it's an energy transmission. And then I think what's so special about Ashtanga yoga is that because it's methodical, you learn to do something really well. So the poses are, I mean, it's a cliche, but the poses are kind of secondary to that. Like what's really valuable is that you're doing this thing over and over again. So you're honing your craft, and you're getting really good at it, and you're building discipline and resilience. And I think that's something that Shirachi did very well, like kind of just really clean teaching in terms of the method and in terms of how he dealt with people, but also a really authentic energy transmission of what he had learned from his grandfather underneath that. So there was both this like pure clarity about the technicality of it, and also a really deep spiritual energy from what he had learned from his grandfather. And I think that's what made him such an amazing teacher.
You already mentioned some like values or core essentials, but what are the things you try to bring from that to your students?
I think I try to again like see them for who they are, and to really listen to people. So first thing is to always just really learn how to observe, which of course I'm not perfect, and sometimes there's things I don't see, or sometimes
I
there's,
think we are all.
but I really try to like see people for who they are individually, and then teach them the traditional method, like how I learned from Shirachi, but also keeping in mind that each individual is really different. So there's like observance and sensitivity, I think, is very important when teaching Ashtanga, seeing who this person is, and then gradually you start to implement things.
I think this is actually even the big gap maybe between like other styles of yoga and Ashtanga yoga. And I think it's a big cliche that people say, oh, you get just like, in this specific kind of rhythm because it's synchronized, because it's like already sequenced. But at the same time, this is the job of the teacher, right? To work this mythology, which is proved by so many years, by so many dedicated practitioners, and try to implement it to the individual. So I think it comes back down to, okay, more the teacher side. Like there's not something like the rigid Ashtanga. There's something like they're rigid people in Ashtanga maybe, but they're rigid people in every different kind of sense of tradition. So you just have to choose like your teacher wisely. What do you think after now so many years of self-practice and even so many years of like teaching, what do you think has your life changed through yoga? I mean, it's obviously a few big changes happened, but what do you think are, when you now compare your situation now with like when you started out with yoga, what kind of different place you're in now?
Yeah, so I think it's so funny because I feel like I'm still just a baby within Ashtanga. And that's like something that's so emphasized in traditional Ashtanga circles. It's like, oh, you're a baby until you've practiced for 10 years. And now I'm practicing Ashtanga every day for 9 years. But I really do think that way, that there's so many things I don't.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, yoga has completely transformed my life because of it. And, how did I change? I mean, for me, coming from that place of mental health, it's like everything has transformed. It's like going from that really deep, deep pain and to who I am now. It's a complete transformation. But I think, again, and something I say to also my students all the time is Ashtanga is just about observing yourself over a long period of time. So what it comes back to for me is being able to have a practice where every single day I'm showing up and I'm just looking at myself. I'm looking at my patterns. What is there? And then I try to do that honestly. And if you look at yourself honestly in that way, then your whole life can become transformed. So it's really just this steadiness of doing it again and again and again, which has been the biggest lesson for me in self-love and everything.
That's beautiful. I think even nowadays there's so much. I think it get less valued to stay consistent with stuff. In the society we are in, like in social media, in news and everything, nowadays, like it always got like highly appreciated if you just like have the most opportunities, if you can choose between 10,000 options. But what get lost in that is like dedicating yourself to one thing and one thing only. And like you said, even having 10 years of experience in one thing is like for most people unimaginable nowadays. And like this is what I think the practice really gives us, which makes it so differently. Even if it's like hard asanas, but it's or like deeper states of meditation or deeper states of breathing, but it's most of the time more about like getting back to this consistent rhythm. Do you have any kind of like advice or tip you would recommend people who want to start out with building their own like self practice to get back on the mat? Because obviously this is not easy to always step up to the mat and look at yourself, even if you don't feel like it, and even if you're maybe don't like what you see sometimes as well.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to keep coming back, I think. I think one thing for me lately has been to just be able to come back with honesty because, like you say, sometimes we see things in ourselves that we don't really like, and that can be really painful. And I definitely had a phase, or I mean, I've had many phases like that over the last 10 years. So I think it's kind of the bravery to be vulnerable with yourself and be real with yourself. Like, yeah, this is what I'm dealing with right now. I think a lot of us, we don't want to come back to the mat because it's just too painful. Like whatever we're going through in life, whatever it is, it's just too painful. And then we would rather stay away. But to be maybe able to face yourself from a place of compassion, not in the cliche sense, but just being kind of, yeah, I'm here for myself. I'm in this moment and I'm being present with myself in this moment, and that's enough. And then see what unfolds from that space.
Sure. What do you think has changed since you got like this blessing from your teacher, even to teach yourself? Did your perspective on the practice change, or did your kind of practice changed, or did anything change at all?
Yes, definitely. I think for me to start teaching Mysore, because I'm a bit of an introvert, to be honest. I like to spend a lot of time alone. That's something I prioritize. So I think for
That's
me,
a good thing, actually.
I guess, I mean, for me, even though I've been practicing my
Hmm.
teach on,
Nice.
yeah, it's been beautiful. But even if it's online, you really realize with Mysore teaching how much you come into a person's life. So you really have to communicate all the time. Who is this person? What is their needs? Is this a mom with children I'm teaching? What kind of a life is that compared to maybe someone who's in their early 20s? They have a lot of things they can give to the practice, and then just being able to stay present again with whatever the person is in front of you, and being able to really listen, not what you want to hear, but what the
Yeah.
person is saying about their life. I've found that to be the biggest part of the job, really, when you're working with people with Mysore over time, to really just be able to be present and see people for who they are and how can I help this person. That was a big lesson for me. And like, not like, how do I want to show this thing? It's like, no, how can I actually help this person? So that's been two of the biggest surprises for me, just like how much of a part you become of someone's life. And
Hmm.
also like, you
Sure.
genuinely want to help. You have to help. It's not just what you think Ashtanga is, but how can I help this person?
Yeah, I think even so, I mean, not just the Ashtanga or the Mysore style is so specific, you know, because you build such a strong relationship by energy or even by like communicating with people by, you know, even like transferring your knowledge on them, but at the same time working for a long time together, like even repeatedly. This is not just like for them like a quite intense time, but to give them this kind of attention. One of my teachers is always saying like he's contemplating even in the classes each other, and which what that means for him is like giving love and attention and even seeing, okay, I would love to, you know, like have it like this, or this was helping me so much, but this is my self-image, so I don't try to put it on to somebody else. This can be so hard as a teacher, like where's the border between who am I and who's he? So yeah, I can imagine. When it comes to like what you're doing now, like having your own online group, and like I saw you in Mysore, I guess, or we not met in Mysore, but we have been at the same time in Mysore. So you're still traveling, continuing, going back to Mysore each year, I guess. What do you think is the big next step for you? Or what are the next things you are looking forward to in your like teaching journey or in your yoga journey in general?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, what I've come back to lately is just like keep being a practitioner. Having a daily practice every day is the most important thing, because that's where everything comes from. I also think that I want to, just whatever comes organically, I guess. I think one thing I also had to teach myself is how to be a little bit more patient. I had a teacher, a good mentor of mine, say, like, mention with patience. And I think when we're young, we are looking for the next thing. But if you practice sincerely every day and you really put everything into that, and you're following a traditional method and you're really practicing earnestly every day and you're being attentive and you're doing that work, the teaching will come naturally over time. So that's the thing that I really had to, that was a big lesson for me lately. I think everything that is meant to come, it will come, but it's really just coming back to being an authentic practitioner, honoring everything that Shiraji taught me. Like, I feel so honored for everything that I learned from him, and I realize how unique that is. And I think if I stay true to that, then the teaching, it will come naturally. It's nothing that I have to
For sure.
or force. It's just keep practicing honestly, work hard every day with devotion, and keep the relationships with the students who come, and build the new relationships, and then it will unfold from that space.
I love that point. Thank you so much. I think this is like also like a great ending for this. Inga, that was an amazing conversation. Thanks for sharing all of this. If people now would like to get in touch with you or would like to get know you or more about what you're doing, what is the best way to reach out to you to get in contact with you?
So I'm on Instagram. I'm Inger Yoga on Instagram. I'm quite active there. So just shoot me a DM over there. That's a good way to get in touch with me. And I also have a website, ingeryoga.com. So there's another place you can get in touch with me. And I think that's it. Just send me a message if you're interested in the Ashtanga practice, for sure. I'll be happy to share.
I will link it below for everyone who's interested, guys. Just check the description. And yeah, thank you so much for your time and
Thank you
hope
so much
to
for me.
talk to you soon. Bye.
Talk soon. Bye bye.